Good morning, and welcome to the 17th Annual Women in Business Conference. My name is Ariana Clark, and I am a sophomore this year at the college. I am an economics major and a minor in statistics. Also, I am working towards a certificate in business fundamentals. As this is my first year on the planning committee and second time year attending the conference, I am delighted to be celebrating 50 years of coeducation at this conference. We appreciate the commitment the alumni have made to being women for others in giving their time and expertise as speakers and mentors. To the college for supporting the progress of female leaders as we are celebrating 50 years of women here at the college. To our advisor, Cassie, for guiding and mentoring us, and to my fellow student committee members, thank you. Thank you all for everything you have done to host another successful event, especially to our seniors. Many thanks to the attendees for being here. Wherever you may be, we hope you enjoy everything in store for you today. At this time, I would like to introduce Professor Inman, class of 1979. She is currently a professor, lecturer, and director of the Directed Independent Spanish curriculum at Holy Cross. Professor Inman has the unique perspective as a Holy Cross student turned alumni, teacher, and even as a parent. Her roots certainly run deep here at Holy Cross, as she arrived at the Hill during the early years of coeducation. She has distinguished herself as a teacher, scholar, administrator, and overall valuable resource for students and faculty alike. We thank her for her support over the years, especially for being here today. So please join me in welcoming Professor Inman.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here this morning to help kick off the 17th Annual Women in Business Conference and to share in the celebration of 50 years of coeducation at Holy Cross. When Ariana approached me about delivering the opening remarks for the conference, I will admit my first thoughts were there has to be a better choice. I have spent my entire life in academia, and the closest I have ever come to being a woman in business was a stint at a summer clothing boutique where I suspect I bought more clothes than I sold. Not a stunning example of financial acumen. But as I read and thought more about the central tenets of the conference, the value of a liberal arts education, of community, and of the focus this year on history and coeducation, I felt I might not be entirely out of place. I arrived at Holy Cross in the fall of 1975. I know, do the math. It was by no means my first time on campus. Both my father and grandfather had graduated from the college, and I had attended a fair number of football, basketball games growing up. But this time, as I unpacked my boxes in the tiny room in Carlin, I realized that this was no longer my father's Holy Cross. And I mean that not just in a personal sense, but in a wider sense. Women were changing Holy Cross. Thanks to the bold and inspired vision of then President John Brooks, women had now been living on the Hill for 3 years. And with them came new voices, new perspectives, new conversations, and new experiences. Holy Cross was richer because of the diversity that women brought to the classrooms and residence halls. If the value of a liberal arts education is in exploring issues across the humanities, the arts, and the sciences, the addition of women broadened and deepened the scope of that exploration. And we also apparently were responsible for the addition of mirrors in the bathrooms, so you're welcome. But that change was not without growing pains. Professors routinely called on men in class more frequently than women. Male students got the A for the same work that earned female students the B+. Some of the older Jesuits opined that women had only climbed the hill in search of a husband, so their grades really didn't matter. And had that been on anyone's mind in those days, there certainly were easier and cheaper ways of doing that. It was not uncommon to walk into Kimball and be greeted by a line of men with placards, not unlike the Olympic scoring system, rating women from 1 to 10. Holy Cross in those days was not for women faint of heart. As Teresa McBride, one of the pioneering women faculty, put it, we often found ourselves swimming upstream. But swim we did. Women excelled academically, assumed leadership positions, competed in athletic events, and most of all, we supported each other. It was a sisterhood. And hopefully, we have passed that sisterhood on to the women who followed us. When I returned to Holy Cross in the 80s after my years in graduate school, I saw that we had made great progress toward gender equity. Women now made up 50% of the student population, and there were more women in faculty and administrative positions. But lest anyone think that it was now a level playing field, let's pause for a minute. From 1970 to 1993, the percentage of female faculty in universities and colleges in the US grew from 24% to 51.7%. However, less than 2/3 of female faculty were on the tenure track. Women generally held instructor and lecturer positions that paid significantly less and had no job security. In 1990, female faculty made 79.9% of what male faculty made. When I had my first daughter, I was away from teaching. I first wrote I was off, but any of you who've had kids, you're not off. I was away from teaching for 3 weeks, and one of those weeks was spring break. I was expected to come back to teach and not cry from lack of sleep and hormones. When I had my second daughter, I shared an office with another professor. Some of you know her, Professor Beth. We both had newborns and toddlers. We were teaching 4 back-to-back classes. A full teaching load in those days was 3 classes per semester. So take overtired, new mothers and put them in 4 back-to-back courses. And you're pushing your luck. You know? We would try to grade papers while pumping breast milk in our offices between classes. One older male colleague told me not to talk about my kids because it made me seem less professional. Shortly after that, a male colleague commented that I never talked about my kids, so I mustn't be very maternal. It was a bit of a fine line. And not all judgment came from men. When Professor Papio and I were teaching intermediate Spanish, we covered a chapter on gender roles. Our composition topic asked students to write about how they might eventually navigate the work-life balance. Many of our female students wrote that this would not be an issue as they intended to stay home and raise their children, a perfectly legitimate choice. However, it was when they further developed their essay explaining that they would stay home because they wanted to be good mothers and that they intended to love their children, it wandered into the judgmental. Know your audience, ladies. This became such a common response that we changed the essay topic permanently. But we persevered. We continued to teach and write and attend conferences. We continued to take care of our kids and soon our elderly parents. And we figured out that maybe the best way to mentor women coming after us was simply to let them see it could be done. It is hard and messy and often a little scary. But ladies, never underestimate the power of your support system, your sisters. In the wild, female elephants are known as fierce protectors. When one of their sisters is suffering, they circle up around her. They close in tight, watch guard, and even kick dust around her to mask her vulnerable scent from predators. This is who we are. Sometimes we're the ones in the middle, and sometimes we are on the outside protecting and kicking up the dust. But always, we need to remember who came before us and who is following in the path that we have cleared. The strength and boldness of the first generation of women changed the trajectory of the college and set the tone for generations of women to come. I know that my 3 daughters who followed me onto the Hill felt empowered by all the women who stepped forward to break the barriers and pave the way for succeeding generations of women leaders. 40 years later, I'm still at Holy Cross. I've had the privilege of teaching, advising, and mentoring women, some of you are here in front of me, who inspire me and motivate me every day. Women, both then and now, are part of the future that we are creating. As we look around and see again a world still in need of action, the time is right to honor and celebrate not only those who acted before us, but also those who we need to carry that legacy today. We must encourage them, embrace them, empower them. Go out there, ladies, kick up some dust. Thanks.